The Tarot and the Tree of Life. The Tarot, while based on these theoretical attributions, was designed as a practical instrument for Kabbalistic calculations and for divination. In it is little place for abstract ideas. The subject of the book, the Tarot, is called the Book of Thoth, or Tahuti, is the influence of the 10 numbers and the 22 letters on man, and his best methods of manipulating their forces. There is, therefore, no mention of the 3 veils of the negative, which was discussed in the description of the Tree of Life. The description begins with the small cards, numbered 1 to 10. These are divided into 4 suits according to the 4 elements. Familiar stuff. Thus, the Ace of Wands is called the root of the forces of fire. It pertains to Kether and purports to represent the first positive manifestation of the idea of fire. The 2 pertains to Chokmah, but here is already no more the simplicity of the idea of fire. An idea in action or in manifestation is no more the pure idea. This card is attributed to the first deacon of the fiery sign Aries, which is ruled by Mars. This, then, gives the idea of a violent and aggressive force. The card is therefore called the Lord of Dominion. This progressive degradation of the idea of fire goes on increasing through the suit. Each successive card becomes less ideal and more actual, increasingly so until, with the number 6, which corresponds to the sun, the center of the whole system, the fiery idea resurges, balanced, hence pure, although complex. Beyond this, the force is beginning to expend itself or spiritualize itself in the cards of the deacon of Sagittarius. But the best fixation of the fiery force is found in the 9, which number is the foundation of the structure of the Tree of Life. Thus, the card is called the Lord of Strength. Okay, so we got want to review that. Thus, so the Ace, the root of the forces of fire for Kether. 2 is of Wands is for Chokmah. And the 2 is attributed to the 2 of Wands is attributed to the first deacon of Aries. The deacon being the first 10 degrees of a sign. It goes on becoming less ideal, more actual through the suit of Wands. 6 corresponds to the sun, the center. Just reviewing here, and okay. The fire has been purified, etherealized, and balanced, but in the 10, that was talking about the 9, but in the 10 showing complete materialization and nimiety. Let me know. The effect of fire is pushed to its extreme limit. Its death is impending, but it reacts against this as best as it can by appearing as the lord of oppression, formidable on the surface, but with the seeds of decay already sprouting. The above summary can easily be applied by the student to the other suits. Does that mean he's not going to talk about the other suits? The court cards are 16 and up. Again, I just want to go back. I feel like what we read there was like important, just at least for totally for understanding the minor cards of the tarot. So let's look at this again. You know what? I'm going to read it all again. The Ace of Wands is called the root of the forces of fire. It pertains to Kether. It purports to represent the first positive manifestation of the idea of fire. Take notes, guys. 2 of Wands pertains to Chokmah. That's the 2 in the tree. But here's already no more the simplicity of the idea of fire, right? It's an idea in action or in manifestation. This card is attributed to the first deacon of Aries, ruled by Mars, then gives the idea of a violent, aggressive force, right? Because he said the first deacon of a sign is like the swift, like onset, The middle decan is like the maturity, and the last decan is like it's fading away, or spiritualization, he said. Called the Lord of Dominion, this progressive degradation of the idea of fire goes on through the suit. Each successive card becomes less ideal, more actual, increasing until the 6, which corresponds to the sun. The center of the whole system, the fiery idea, resurges. Okay, so it's like fading through 2 through 5, and at 6 it resurges. Fire, the fiery element does. Rebalancing itself. It says balance, hence pure, although complex. So it's kind of repurifying itself. It's becoming more similar to the ace than it was, when it was in the 2 or through the 5. 2, 3, 4, and 5. But it's more complex. Beyond this, meaning 7, 8, 9, 10, the force is beginning to expend itself. So now it's like wearing out or spiritualize itself. Like, how like fire turns to smoke and like rises up to the air. It's almost like a spiritual transformation in the cards of the decan of Sagittarius. But the best fixation of the fiery force is found in the 9. Which number is the foundation of the structure of the tree of life, right? That's 10 is at the bottom, but 9 just above it is I think called foundation. Is like, something like that. It's technically the bottom of the spiritual part of the tree, at least. Don't take my word for it. Thus the card is called the Lord of Strength. Okay. Fire's been purified, etherealized, and balanced in the 9, but in the 10, showing complete materialization and nimiety. Again, that word. Sorry. Burping here. The effect of fire is pushed to its extreme limit. I can't pronounce L's, you probably noticed. Its death is impending, but it reacts against this as best as it can by appearing as the Lord of Oppression, formidable on the surface, but with the seeds of decay already sprouting. The above summary can easily be applied by the student to the other suits. So let's think about the other suits. Swords would be attributed to air. So we start with the ace, which is like the kether in the tree, the head of the tree. So it's like the purest, singular, positive manifestation you can get of, spiritualized air, or spiritual air, not physical air. 2 is the Hokmah. So we can just replace, fire in this with air, with water, with earth. But it's kind of harder to imagine with those than it is with fire. He made it so easy for himself because he's not really going into the other suits. And like fire is like, I can imagine fire like building and then dying, decaying and fading. Like I talked about smoke, but let's talk about the same thing happening to the element of air or water or earth. It's like a little harder to. I wish he would go deeper. Let's be patient. Perhaps he will. The court cards are 16 in number, 4 to each suit. There's thus a subdivision of each element to its own system. The knights represent the element of fire, so that the Knight of Wands represents the fiery part of fire, the Knight of Cups, the fiery part of water. Let me see. There's no desktop audio. Good. The fiery part of water. I should probably go back because I got distracted. Okay, there's thus a subdivision of each element into its own system. The knights represent the element of fire, so that the knight. So remember that knights in his deck are equivalent to like a king in another deck, if you're familiar with other decks. So the Knight of Wands represents the fiery part of fire, the Knight of Cups, the fiery part of water. Similarly, the princesses or empresses represent earth, so that the Empress of discs, coins, or pentacles represents the earthy part of earth. Again, it's also a reiteration of something he said in an earlier part. These cards have many manifestations in natural phenomena. Thus, the Knight of Wands has the attribution of Aries and represents swift violence of onset, the lightning flash. But the airy part of fire is sympathetic with Leo, the steady force of energy, the sun. Lastly, in the watery part of fire, harmony is with Sagittarius, which shows the fading, spiritualized reflection or translucence of the image of fire, and this suggests the rainbow. See the table of the triplicities of the zodiac. So yeah, we took a peek at this last time, but this is what he was just talking about. So you can see how, okay, so since he's talking about the tarot, he doesn't bother telling you what the signs are, but this is obviously attributions meant for zodiac signs. Okay, so really to go through quickly, the fire is Aries. So cardinal signs are like fire, if you're familiar. Right. Cardinal fixed signs are like air, I guess he would say. Let's make sure. Air of water is the sea. That's Scorpio fixed. That's Aquarius. Okay, so yeah. Fixed signs are in this case air, and mutable signs are water. So cardinal fixed mutable, cardinal fixed mutable. So to go quickly, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, Libra, Aquarius, Gemini, Capricorn, Taurus, and Virgo. Excuse me. So, and he gives like natural attributions to them, like nature phenomena, and with little description. So Aries, fire, lightning, swift violence of onset. Leo, like the sun, steady force of energy. Sagittarius, like a rainbow. So these are what he mentioned in the text. Fading, spiritualized reflection of the image. But if you want to go on to the other signs, you can look at this chart, whatever you want to call it. So Cancer is like rain or springs, swift and passionate attack. Scorpio, like the sea, a steady force of putrefaction. And Pisces, like a pool, stagnant, spiritualized reflection of images. Keep going. Let's go through the whole thing. Why not? So the fire of air is Libra. Excuse me. Wind, swift onset. Note the idea of balance as in trade winds. Air of air is Aquarius. Clouds, steady conveyors of water. And Gemini, vibrations, the bulk unmoved, spiritualized to reflect Ruach, or mind. That one's a little more difficult to understand for me. Fire of earth, Capricorn, mountains, violent pressure due to gravitation. The air of earth, Taurus, or the plains, steady bearing of life. And Virgo, the water of earth, are the fields, the quiet, spiritualized. They are quiet and spiritualized to bear vegetable and animal life. He says, in each case, the cardinal sign represents the birth of an element. The cherubic sign, that must mean, it says cardinal, the cherubic sign would be the fixed sign. Because you see the fixed signs as like the signs that surround the angel in the world card. I guess that kind of has to do with what he's talking about there. Cherubic sign, it's life, and the mutable sign, it's passing over towards the ideal form. Passing over towards the ideal form proper to it, i.e. to spirit. See also the princesses in the tarot and the thrones of spirit. Okay. So the princesses are his version of what are pages in other decks, just so you know. But what he's saying is that those are attributed to the mutable signs. Cardinal signs are like the knights, and the fixed signs. I don't know why I keep messing up. Fixed. The fixed signs are like the I don't know what's his other one. He's got knights. Sorry. Queens, kings. The brain is so off today. Anyway, so it's knights, queens, princes, and princesses, right? Why am I scrolling when I could go right back up to where I was? So the princes would be the fixed signs, I believe. Because that's what he attributes to air. I think I was here. Okay, so now we're back from the table of the triplicities of the zodiac. But just to reiterate what I finished saying there is that the knights in his deck, aka kings, are cardinal, like cardinal signs. The queens are mutable. No, I'm sorry, the princesses are mutable. I'm not sure how he attributes the queens then. Because, yeah, that's interesting. And then the princes would be the fixed signs. Water. Well, he attributes water to the queens, I thought. Now I'm getting all confused. I hope you guys aren't as confused as I am. All right, he said, Crowley said, the knights are fire, the princes are air, and I thought the queens were water. But he says here, so also the princesses in the tarot are the thrones of spirit. Oh, okay, so the princesses are something else. I see. So queens are water. Sorry for the confusion, people. Yes. Okay. Right. There. Fire. Fire is knight. Air is prince. Water is queen. Thank you. Princesses are the thrones of spirit. Now, I have an idea what that means, but I won't be able to go into it. Returning to here. The ATU of Tahuti. And we have a note immediately. ATU, house or key. Atu, perhaps. In the ancient Egyptian. Yeah, so it's a word. It's always like in full caps, so I'm not really sure if it's was just letters or not. The house or key in ancient Egyptian. Tahuti. Tahuti, Egyptian god of wisdom, magic, science, also illusion. In Coptic, Thoth. In Greek, Hermes. In Latin, Mercury. The Hindu and Scandinavian gods corresponding are debased forms. Not sure. That sounds derogatory. Okay. But maybe he doesn't mean it that way. Let me get back into here. Good. Why should this be so? Why should these paths be arranged on the tree in the way that the diagram shows? Why should there not be paths connecting the numbers 2 and 5 and the numbers 3 and 4? Let's hop to the tree. Why no path connecting 2 and 5? Wait, there is. That's a path connecting 2 and 5. And then 3 and 4, we have paths. What's happening? Am I misreading? Why should these paths be arranged in the tree in the way that the diagram shows? Why should there not be paths connecting the numbers 2 and 5 and the numbers 3 and 4? Maybe I'm not looking at... Well, I know I'm not looking at Crowley's tree, so let me try to find a better tree. Okay, sorry. So, and last video, I was showing you the wrong tree. Well, that just goes to show that there's a lot of concepts about this. Crowley's is not the only ideas about Kabbalah that are out there. So, as you can see, his paths are very different from that other tree we saw. There are no paths connecting 2 to 5 or 3 to 4. So he was talking about that before. But, you know, I'm also noticing that there's some differences here to what Crowley was saying before, too, because he was saying that the lovers went between these two. Okay, that might make sense. No, the sword, Zion. All right, that might still be the same. And then you have here, okay, the same one. It says camel, but that's attributed to the priestess, the moon, etc. That he was talking about earlier, going on this path between 1 and 6. This is at least the paths are in the right place for Crowley. Sorry. So, let's get back to business. This one has been off to a slow start. Okay. And let's get this back up to size. Cool. So, no paths connecting 2 and 5 or 3 and 4. One cannot answer any of these questions. Well, it's the tree you chose, Crowley. There's obviously other options. But he gets his evidence from somewhere. Okay. Who knows how A got to leave an ox to be no camel, quoth the Jews, like G? Browning? Okay, it's a quote from somebody. Nobody knows, only that this was the conventional arrangement adopted by whoever it was that devised the tarot. Okay. Well, I think there he acknowledges that there are other arrangements, as we've seen. But this is the one chosen by whoever devised the tarot, the mysterious occultist. What is worse, it seems very confusing, very annoying. Okay, it shakes one's faith in these great sages, but at least there is no doubt that this is so. The letters of the Hebrew alphabet are 22. There are 3 mother letters for the elements, 7 double letters for the planets, and 12 single letters for the signs of the zodiac. But there are 4 elements, not 3, or, including the element of spirit, an important matter to initiates, there are 5. Right. There are therefore 2 letters of the alphabet which have to do double duty. The element of fire is very close kin to the idea of spirit, so the letter shin, belonging to fire, may be taken to mean spirit as well. There is a special reason why this should be so, although it only applies in later ages, since the introduction of the dogma that spirit rules the 4 elements and the formation of the pentagram of salvation connected with the Hebrew word Yeshua. With regards to earth, it was considered adequate to make the letter Tau. He says Tau, but I think it's Tav. Maybe like modern Hebrew, it's Tav. Belonging to Saturn, correspond also to Earth. That kind of makes sense because like Saturn and Earth have always kind of been kind of like smashed together in different occult systems. Like they have they have similar attributions. Probably because they're like the bookends of the solar system, you know what I mean? These additions are clear evidence that the tarot took definite and arbitrary steps to assert the new discovery in magic some 2,000 years ago, for no system is more rigid than a Hebrew system, and the system of the Sefer Yetzirah is the deepest rooted of all the elements of the Hebrew system, the most dogmatic of them all. The tarot is justified not by faith, but by works. The departure from the original bone-dry Kabbalah have been justified by experience. The point, raised above, about the way in which the paths are selected to join certain numbers and not others, is found to express important doctrines connected with the facts of initiation. It must always be borne in mind that the tarot is not only an atlas for recording facts, but a guidebook, showing one how to travel through these countries previously unknown. Travelers in China are somewhat bewildered at first when they are told that it is 100 li from Yongchang to Pupang, but only 40 li from Pupang to Yongchang. The answer is that the li is a measure of the time of marching, not of miles. The difference of calculation informs one that Pupang is a long way up the hill. It is very much the same with the tarot. The 6 of Wands is referred to Jupiter in Leo and called the Lord of Victory. This dictates not only what victory is like, but also the conditions to be fulfilled in the order to obtain victory. There is no need of the fiery energy of the suit of wands, the balance of the number 6, the stubborn courage of Leo, and also the influence of Jupiter, the little bit of luck that tips the scale. These considerations are particularly important in dealing with the Atu or trumps. The planets are already represented in the numbers of Sephiroth of the Tree of Life, but they have also attributions to certain of the paths. Some etymologists of a singularly idle disposition have tried to derive the French word atu from the atu, meaning house. It may seem simpler to suggest that atu is short for bon atu, meaning good for anything, because a trump will take any card of any suit. The atu of Tahuti, who is the Lord of Wisdom, are also called keys. They are guides to conduct. They give you the map of the kingdom of heaven, and also the best way to take it by force. The Atu of Tahuti, who is the Lord of Wisdom, are also called keys. They are guides to conduct. We talk about the majors here, the major trump cards. They give you the map of the kingdom of heaven, and also the best way to take it by force. A complete understanding of any magical problem is necessary before it can be solved. Study from outside and action from outside are ways abortive. Okay. It is of the so basically he's saying someone like me who keeps like throwing in interjections and doubting him because he's not like doubting him for evidence essentially for some of these claims. He's saying, well, you just haven't stepped into these realms that are, of the tree. You haven't climbed the tree, essentially, to find out for yourself. And he'd be right about that. I'm just like, like he said here, I'm sitting on the outside, just reading and studying and trying to learn. But he says if you jump in and you go for the adventure, you're going to find out, you're going to have all the evidence you need. Study from outside, that's what I'm doing. And action from outside are ways abortive. Okay, he's dissing on me, but I totally appreciate that. It is of the utmost importance to understand this extremely specialized character of the trumps. And when I say that, I mean, like, I have plenty of experience with tarot, but, like, he's, I know what kind of shit Crowley was doing. He was going on fucking ethereal adventures that I have not participated in. Where are we? It is of the utmost importance to understand this extremely specialized character of the trumps. To say that the trump numbered 3, called the Empress, represents Venus, means something much less and also much more than appears of Venus be studied from a strictly astrological standpoint. One abandons the contemplation of the whole in order to take practical advantage of a part. Just so tactics differs from strategy. A great general does not think of war in the abstract, but confines his attention to a minute part of his perhaps vast knowledge of the subject by considering the disposition of his forces at a given place and time, and how best to employ them against his adversary. This is of course true not only of the trumps, but of all the other cards, and it must be true of any specialized studies. If one goes into a shop and asks for a map of a certain country, one cannot get a complete map, because any such map would necessarily merge into the universe, right, as it approached completeness. Understanding that. For a country's character is modified by the adjacent countries, right, so on forever. Nor would even any useful map be complete in the most vulgar practical way without leading to confusion. The shopman would want to know whether his customer wanted a geological map, an orographical map, a commercial map, a map showing the distribution of population, or strategic map, and so on forever. The student of the tarot must not therefore expect to find anything beyond a careful selection of the facts about any given card, a selection made for a quite definite magical purpose. I think the simplest way to sum up what he's saying here is the tarot is a complete entity. So when you study the individual parts of it without considering the whole is kind of useless. There's my dumb take. However, the tarot does try to resume in a single pictorial symbol as many as possible of the useful aspects of the idea. In studying any card, one ought not to neglect any of the attributions, because each class of attribution does modify the form and color of the card and its use. This essay will endeavor in the section describing each card in turn to include as many of the correspondences as possible. The Roman numbers of the trumps. The trumps are numbered in Roman figures in order to avoid confusion with the Arabic numbers of the Sephiroth. It has puzzled the traditional writers on the tarot that these numbers should run from 0 to 21. They seem to have thought that it would be proper to assume that 0 was the fool, because he was a cipher, a good-for-nothing. They made this assumption simply because they did not know the secret doctrine of the Kabbalistic 0. And there's a note coming from the title of the section. Some paragraphs of this section repeat in slightly different phrases statements already made in earlier pages. This is intended. And it's not like something he hasn't already done, repeat himself. But he's really trying to emphasize stuff. Sorry. Now I'm looking everywhere for this spot. Why? I just passed the page. Okay. What you're seeing is different from what I'm seeing. Just give me a break. Okay. And Kabbalistic 0, okay. They did not know elementary mathematics. I'm going to go back a second here. They made this assumption simply because they did not know the secret doctrine of the Kabbalistic 0. They did not know elementary mathematics. They did not know that mathematicians begin the decimal scale with 0. To make it quite clear to initiates, they did not understand the meaning of the card called the Fool. They put him down between the cards 20 and 21. For what reason it baffles the human imagination to conceive. They then attributed the card 1, the juggler, to the letter Aleph. In this simple yet ingenious matter, the attribution of every card except the universe 21 is wrong, or was wrong. Meanwhile, the true attribution was well guarded in the sanctuary. It only became public when the secret lection, not sure what word is meant there, issued to the members of the grade of Practicus of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, was published as a result of the catastrophe attending the English branch of the order in 1899 and 1900, and the reconstruction of the whole order in March and April 1904 by putting the card marked 0 in its proper place where any mathematician would have put it. The attributions fall into a natural order which is confirmed by every investigation. There was, however, one kink in the rope. The card called Adjustment is marked 8. The card called Lust is marked 11. To maintain the natural sequence, so you guys know, Adjustment would be like Libra, Lust would be like Leo, marked 11. To maintain the natural sequence, Lust, Leo, must be attributed to Libra, and Adjustment to Libra to Leo. Obviously not true. Now there's a note. The old titles of these cards were respectively Strength and Justice. They are inadequate or misleading. That's why he changed them, apparently. This is evidently wrong, because the card called Adjustment actually shows a woman with sword and scales, while the card called Lust shows a woman and a lion. Now, he's taking quite a literal approach to this. Like, he's like, look at the imagery on the card. One shows the lion, therefore it's Leo. One shows scales, therefore it's Libra. I mean, obviously lots of other decks go by other systems. What he's arguing for is that his system is correct. But the evidence is just not strong to me. Sorry, Crowley lovers. I love Crowley too. But sorry, Thelemites and other such people. This isn't working for me. But, I mean, Okay. Strength or lust, as he calls it, to Leo. Justice to Libra. Okay. I see that. I feel that. Okay. It was quite impossible to understand why this reversal should have taken place until the events of March and April 1904, which are recounted in detail in the Equinox of the Gods. Just remember, he's writing this about 40 years after that. One need here give only one quotation. All these old letters of my book are aright, but Sadi is not the star. That X is meant for the letter Sadi. It's a Hebrew letter. That's from the Book of the Law. This was making darkness deeper. It was clear that the attribution of the star to the letter Sadi was unsatisfactory, and the question arose how to find another card which would take its place. An incredible amount of work was done on this. In vain. After nearly 20 years, the solution appeared. The star represents Nuit, the starry heavens. I think that's how you pronounce it. I am infinite space and the infinite stars thereof, from the Book of the Law. She is represented with two vases, one pouring water, a symbol of light, upon herself, the other upon the earth. Let's go back to the note here. It says old titles of these cards. Oh, yeah, I read that note. Sorry. Back to Nuit, the star, with the vases. This is a glyph of the economy of the universe. It continually pours forth energy and continually reabsorbs it. It is the realization of perpetual motion, which is never true of any part, but necessarily true of the whole. For if it were not so, there would be something disappearing into nothing, which is mathematically absurd. The principle of Carnot, the second law of thermodynamics, is only true in finite equations. The card which must be exchanged for the star is the Emperor, who bears the number 4, which justifies power, authority, law, and is attributed to the sign Aries. This proves very satisfactory. Now, guys, I also illustrated this probably video 1. We looked at a chart which showed the kind of the loop in the zodiac, which he had to essentially 11 and 8 were switched, made a little like loop at the end of the zodiac when he switched the star and the emperor. It made a perfectly symmetrical loop at the other side. So that was his evidence for that being the case. Actually, okay, I'm on page 22. Let me just jump back real quick. We're going to look at it. Yeah, it's right here. So you can see, starting with Aries, down through Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, up here, and then we loop around Virgo and Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, down to Aquarius, Pisces, and back to Aries. So here's our loop. Ooh. And basically, when 11 and 8 had to be switched, it created this little loop on this side. But in switching 4 and 17, the star and the emperor, as he's talking about right now, it created this symmetrical loop. We got it. Here we go. Just gotta find my spot again because, right, pouring the water. The card which must be exchanged for the star is the Emperor, who bears the number 4, which signifies power, authority, law, and is attributed to the sign Aries. We said that. This proves very satisfactory, but it became infinitely more so as soon as it was seen that this substitution cleared up the other mystery about strength and justice. For Leo and Libra are by this exchange shown as revolved about Virgo in that illustration, the 6th sign of the zodiac, which balances the revolution of Aries and Aquarius about Pisces, the 12th sign. This is a reference to a peculiar secret of the ancients, which was very deeply studied by Godfrey Higgins and others of his school. It is useless to go far into the matter here, but the position is made clear enough by the accompanying diagram. It will be seen at a glance that now, for the first time, is a perfect symmetry established in the tarot. The diagram is what I just showed you. The justice of the exchange is evident when one considers etymology. It is natural that the Great Mother should be attributed to He, which is her letter in the Tetragrammaton, while the letter Tsadi is the natural letter of the Emperor in the original phonetic system as shown in the words Tsar, Tsar, Kaiser, Caesar, Senior, Signor, etc., Sir. I get that. Okay, that's good evidence. I like that. Tsadi, Tsar, Czar, to the Emperor. Okay, there's an etymological piece of evidence there. And He, of course, He is a feminine is a feminine letter. Like he says, it's the letter of the Great Mother. So he's saying that the star is a representation of the Great Mother as well. She's attributed to He. Cool. Tarot and magic. That's the spot where we're going to start in the next part. Sorry, this part was a little bumpy, but hey, that's how it goes. You're watching part 5, I think. So if you're this far in, you're actually interested in this book, and you're coming on the ride with me. So thank you. I appreciate that. But if you're really looking for some serious reading here, and I keep kind of jumping off and giving my own little tangents and stuff, and you don't like it, I apologize. Let me know. You're here for something just more straightforward. But I think this is the best you're going to get, because I think the other video I saw on YouTube reading this book was like a robot voice, and it was like impossible to hear. So you can hear my nasally, speech impeded voice going through this book, and I appreciate you coming on this journey with me. Thanks for watching part 5, and I'll see you in the next one.